Mandy says her 49-year-old friend was full of life, loved gardening, serving others, and somehow even made time to train for a marathon.
Hello and welcome to True Crime Rocket Science, the most authentic voice in true crime. Get this, Tammy's health was failing, according to Chad's brood. Wait, what? When I read those words that Chad's children were unanimous that their mother Tammy's health was failing, I did a double take. Make that a triple take. What? Pardon my French.
Are you out of your f***ing mind?
I mean, if Tammy were here right now, if we were able to ask her directly about her health at the time her life was snuffed out in her bedroom, what do you think she'd say? What do you think her friend Mandy Fowler, the co-worker and friend quoted right at the beginning of this clip, what would she say about the friend of hers that was coming to work every day, about her health? And about how unexpected her passing was. In photos of Tammy and Chad, Tammy often looks trimmer than her husband, who sometimes sports a double chin and appears chubby. So we're going to go into that in more detail, but what we're really trying to get at here is, are Chad's brood minimizing what is going on here? Before we get to that, if you haven't subscribed to the channel, please do like, share, leave a comment. I'll also be talking about tonight's live. It'll probably be in the afternoon your time, dealing with the Summer Wells case. Today's day 78 since Summer Wells went missing. So in this episode, I do mean to challenge Chad's brood on this whole idea that Tammy's health was failing. I do mean to challenge that assertion, and I do wonder whether what is happening here is minimizing effectively what has happened to Tammy. Now, one way to show the truth of the situation, the reality, the authentic narrative of what is really going on here, is just to look at the health of Tammy compared to Chad. Tammy was a librarian working at a elementary school, right? She was employed in that capacity, whereas Chad was writing a number of books, because he was employed effectively as an author. And I can tell you, as someone who's written over 100 books myself, writing doesn't lend itself to physical fitness. You have to take time off and work hard at it, and you have to be able to afford to do so. Chubby Chad had a family of 5 to look after, and Chad's brood concede that their father didn't go out much, which sounds to me like he was a lot more sedentary and unfit than Tammy. What do you guys think? And obviously you can make a case that sedentariness is linked to health, whether it's heart health or the health of your lungs, your respiratory system, your immunity. If you're able to get out and get into the sunshine, you're going to be healthier than if you indoors sitting in your chair all day. There's also a link between how overweight you are and your health and your immunity. Now, moving on to the next section, the kids also seem to think that something like asphyxia, the coroner apparently told them that Tammy had asphyxiated, and they seem to be under the impression that is a natural cause of death. Now, I'm going to do a separate video dealing with that in more detail, dealing with that separately in more detail. But let me ask you about this whole idea of asphyxia as a natural cause of death. How often have you gone to sleep, randomly stopped breathing, followed by your bedfellow collecting on your insurance and then partying it up in your absence 2 weeks later on a tropical island with your replacement? Ever happened to you? Ever happened to someone that you know, that they stopped breathing and then something like that happened? And of course, it all started with your health randomly just giving out, almost like a puncture without a thorn. It happens, right? And no explanations are necessary. Something like that happened. We don't need to know really why. Tammy's health was failing, but exactly how it is failing isn't necessary to know. Well, except in the real world of true crime, it is necessary to know. And so that is why we go to this archive, this article from the media archive dated June 12th, 2020, from the East Idaho News. And this is an article that is more than 12 months old. It's more than a year old. And here we hear from someone else that is close to Tammy Daybell, but it's not a family member, right? It's a friend of Tammy Daybell, a colleague and a co-worker that kind of expressed things a little differently to Chad's brood, wouldn't you say? If Chad's brood perceived their mother's health to be failing at the time she passed, Tammy's friend saw a woman who was the picture of health. According to Mandy Fowler, who's quoted at the beginning of this clip, Tammy's friend and co-worker, she said that her 49-year-old friend was full of life, loved gardening, serving others, and had somehow found the time to train for a marathon. So, at the time that she passed, she was actually training for a marathon. So she was fitter, less flabby, had probably good cardio fitness, also respiratory fitness, right? Probably a lot better fitness compared to Chad. And I think the most important thing is anyone training for a marathon basically imagines themselves, you would only do that if you felt that you were up to it, or up for it. You felt that you were motivated and strong and willing to do that. Bear in mind also that at the time that this happened, Tammy was 49 years old. I'm 49 years old myself. And at that time, you tend to be thinking, well, I'm approaching 50 years old and I want to be not maybe the best that I can be, but I want to be my best self. And that's often a milestone related thing. If you're turning 30 or 40 or 50, you often want to do something, you want to demonstrate something, you want to do some kind of action that is going to kind of be a celebration of your life at that particular milestone. This was Tammy's celebration. Have Chad's brood forgotten about that? Have they forgotten about their mother going out training and jogging and trying to keep fit and training for this marathon? So which is it? Was Tammy full of life or was her health failing? Which one is it? Now, apparently Chad's brood have participated in this 48 hours documentary to, quote, clear up misconceptions, end quote. Is that right? Have I understood that right? That they're participating because some people have been misled or they've gotten the wrong idea about certain things. Do I have that right? That is why they're participating. Well, one misconception is who decided on the autopsy, right? Well, there's no argument about something else. Tammy was buried on October 22nd, 2019, just 3 days after her death. And then at the time, friends expressed concern that Tammy's funeral was rushed. Again, you got this different narrative from the one side to the other. Did the family express concern that Tammy's funeral was rushed? Apparently not, but then friends did. So what's going on there? The rushed funeral makes complete sense if one considers Chad and Laurie's wedding plans, especially if you bear in mind that weren't these wedding plans set up in advance? So we want to get married at that time. Well, Tammy needs to be out the way before then, theoretically. So they got married 2 weeks after Tammy's death. So to be clear, Tammy's wedding took place on October 22nd, 2019, and then Chad, this recent widower, got married on November the 5th, 2019 to Laurie Vallow. Of course, her husband had died earlier the same year as well. Charles Vallow died on July 11th, 2019. So if you put all those dates together, Charles Vallow, July, the children in September, and then Tammy in October, the wedding then in early November. Was all of that connected? So coming back to Tammy's funeral, had the funeral taken place sort of on the normal schedule, had the funeral taken place later, it would have looked even spookier if the wedding had taken place just a week or say just a few days after Tammy's funeral, wouldn't it? I mean, if Chad had suddenly flown out, the funeral happens and then almost immediately flies out to Hawaii. Do you agree? Full disclosure, I haven't seen the documentary yet, but my impression is that Chad's brood have nitpicked a few interesting details, But do they say anything about the big stuff? Like their father having an affair prior to their mother's death? And did their father tell them about his wedding to Laurie? If so, when? And why has it taken until now, right before their father's trial, for any of the brood to come forward to say anything? Why now? I mean, compare the silence of Chad's brood to Larry and Kay Woodcock engaging with the media, actively engaging with the media, Laurie's eldest son Colby coming forward, Melanie Gibb coming forward, an ensemble of characters all fighting for justice. Where has Chad's brood been throughout this entire time? What's been going on? So the silence in the context of what has happened feels sinister, doesn't it? And the timing of the breaking of it even more so, wouldn't you say? So I'm not going to take it further than that. Just some news on the Summer Wells case. I actually don't think I'm going to do the live stream today on day 78, just because I can only do it fairly early in the day, and I don't think that's going to suit a lot of you guys. I don't know if you guys are going to be available at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. If you are available, let me know. But otherwise, I'll do the live stream this weekend at a time that is going to be more suitable. Thank you for listening, and I'll see you guys next time.